All right, botanists. So we're about to start our topic on plants, and this is actually quite interesting. A lot of you are probably worried that this is going to be quite a dry topic, but it's fairly interesting. I've kind of dug it, and it gets a bit more practical than you're probably imagining off the top of your head. So, what's the point? Basically, you want to be able to explain a plant's method of food production. By the end of this, that's the goal. What do you need to remember? You need to remember these couple of things from our junior years about plant structure. Okay, so plants have two systems. Essentially, you've got the shoot system and the root system. So the shoot system is everything pretty much above the ground. So you've got the petioles here, the blade of the leaf, and they make up the leaf together. You've got the apical bud, so it's a bud, so it's the bud at the top. Your little auxiliary buds coming off here, nodes where it joins, internode, which is in between, and this all makes up the stem. That's your shoot system. So it's shooting above the ground. Your root system has the lateral root, the primary root, and it has all these little hairs off the side here. So what do they do? Well, your roots, we'll start with the flower. That's essentially the sex organs of the plants, the reproductive parts. You then have the leaves, which is where the food is made and breathing out happens. You have here the stem, which carries food down and around, I guess, as well, and water up the plant. Where's that mouse? So water goes up, food goes down. And you've got the roots. This is where water is absorbed, as well as minerals, and it anchors the plants down. And you've got these little root hairs, which increase the surface area, which we've talked about in the past. Um, so yeah, that's your plant structure. You should remember that. If not, please knock up those, quickly jot down those diagrams right there. So let's look at a leaf structure. Okay, when we look at a leaf at a cellular level, we see that it's not too thick, but it's still multiple layers of cells. Okay, so you've got the vascular bundle here. This is very interesting. Vascular bundle, these are essentially the plant's veins and arteries. In this case, you have xylem and phloem. We'll get more into those later on, but right now, we're talking about the vascular bundle. Okay, so we're talking about like the food structure. So just chill. All right, so here we've got this is going on. That runs through the center of the leaf. Here we have the spongy mesophyll and the palisade mesophyll. The mesophyll is this entire area here, and mesophyll means it's basically filling up the middle of the plant, middle of the stem. Now you can see here this is all tightly packed. That's really important. You can see here that it's not tightly packed, and this is also really important. So this is where a lot of air is captured and water vapors. We can call those respiratory gaps if you want. Here are your guard cells, and your stoma in the middle is that pore. We've got a more detailed one in the middle, but this is a diagram that you could draw. You have a cuticle along the top, which is a layer, not a cellular layer, just a layer of top, like a waxy layer kind of thing. Then you have the upper epidermis meaning the skin, and you've got the palisade mesophyll. Okay, palisade mesophyll, also known as the parenchyma cells, and the palisade cells. That is where photosynthesis happens. So if we have a quick look here, you can jot these notes down. We've got the waxy cuticle here, the parenchyma cells, which is where photosynthesis happens. Okay, so they're like chock-a-block full of chloroplasts. That's these little green ones. Chock-a-block full of chloroplasts and chlorophyll. Then you have the respiratory cavities. So water vapor forms here and then diffuses out through the pore, okay, as well as the oxygen. And carbon dioxide is actually drawn in through the stomatophores. So that's also very interesting. The xylem and phloem, this is transport in and out of the plant, and in and out of the leaf. So this actually takes water and from the roots into the leaves where it's needed, and takes the sugar which is produced here into the leaves, into the rest of the plant. So that's our plant. Now, it's very important to remember photosynthesis, which we'll go over a bit more in a second, occurs in the parenchyma cells of the palisade mesophylls. These are words that you need to get down. So this here and that there, as well as this information here, by the way, you do need to knock that up, quickly get that written down. So these are words you need to know. All right. So what is photosynthesis? Basically, We call plants autotrophs because they produce their own food. Producing their own autotroph, meaning food. Okay, so they do this by producing the key nutrient. They do this, sorry, to produce the key nutrient glucose through photosynthesis. So they use photosynthesis to make glucose and the oxygen, which we are so grateful for. So you need to know both of these, and that includes the numbers up here. All right, so it's 6 carbon dioxide molecules to sit plus 6 water molecules give us 1 molecule of glucose, see, and 6 molecules of oxygen. So that's really important. So let's have a quick look. So make sure you get that down. So photosynthesis happens here, right? So the chlorophyll absorbs green wavelengths of the sun, making the plants look green. Goes through. That's not true. They actually absorb the red wavelengths. They absorb red and reflect the green. Okay, so they reflect the green, which is why they're green. So they absorb red, reflect green. Okay, so the light energy and carbon dioxide comes in. Water and carbon dioxide combine inside the plant here, inside the leaf, to make glucose or sugar. Oxygen is a byproduct, so oxygen and water vapor leave. Because if we go back here, just 1 second, it's actually, now you don't need to write this down because it's a bit further along. It's 12 H2Os plus 6 H2Os. Now, I don't want you to write that down. We don't consider that correct for this course, but in reality, we just balance it down. We sort of, pull out the bonus extra waters there, but they do exist. They're important. Anyway, now what's really important is this one here. So the oxygen leaves, water leaves. If the plant produces more sugar than it needs, it stores it as starch. It stores as starch in the roots. And this is also quite obvious if we think about it, because when we eat potatoes, we're eating the root of a plant, which is mostly starch. So yeah, and the water comes up through the roots, the water that's used. All right, so it's not just carbon dioxide and water that a plant needs. It needs its micronutrients. Now, if we're talking about animals, we just call these micronutrients, but because we're talking about plants, we can call them macronutrients, meaning they need a lot, and micronutrients mean they mean a small amount. Alright, so we have nitrogen here, and it's used for proteins. Nitrogen's really important, and that one of the main components in fertilizer are ammonia. I'm just going to erase these. And the phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, calcium, magnesium. Okay, and you see here, as you knock this table up, they all have certain jobs that they're going to do. But there are some which are more important than others. So we've got the basic nutrients, that's, these are the elements which are in oxygen, in glucose. Then we have the primary macronutrients. These are the ones that we need lots of. These will always be in fertilizers, or most fertilizers. These ones here then start to get included less and less in fertilizers because they get less important. So there are some that a plant can survive with, some that a plant cannot survive without. And there are some that are ideal. If you want your plants to grow fantastically, you'll need the other micronutrients, but it's a bit of a mix. And we'll see how to work it out in a second. So an experiment, right? If we want to know, how do we know which nutrients are important for plant growth and which ones aren't? Well, it's quite simple. You put your seedling in a water growth medium, okay? And in that watery growth medium, you dissolve whatever the nutrient is. And then you see how it grows. So this one here has complete growth medium, so everything the plant needs. This one has the plant growth medium lacking just nitrogen. And you can actually do this for all the different micronutrients. So here we have a set of results. So this is the one with all the nutrients grown in, right? This one here has just water, so no nutrients, no extra nutrients at all, and it just kind of stays the same, full nutrients, bang. This one here, Okay, so it's just missing phosphorus. It's got the full nutrients minus the phosphorus. And even with that, it had very weak shoots and roots, and not much happened. Here we get this poor growth with yellowish leaves, and that's minus magnesium. If we take the iron out, we get yellowish leaves. If we take nitrogen out, though, it almost doesn't grow. It just kind of stays roughly the same. And here we've got an example, actual set of results of the different nutrient deficiencies. So this one here's molybdenum, by the way. That's manganese, calcium, chlorine, iron, zinc, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. All right, so that's it. So that's one, a plant makes its own food. Two, it still needs other nutrients. And yeah, there we are. Hope that was fun, and see you in class.